Prescott, welcome to Coach Tommy Bowden.
I knew it got mic'd up. Block that kick. I've had him block before. That's why I'm here instead of coaching. I had too many block. But I don't know why they mic up head coaches. I'm used to chasing officials and a lot further away from here in the back of the wall and yelling at them. So they mic us up anyway. And if you don't mind, I'm going to take this coat off. I hate to sweat. I don't want to sweat in my jacket. I got to speak at a church in Atlanta tomorrow morning. I'm going to wear this shirt. I don't want to sweat in it. Paid $2.50 to get it dry cleaned, and I know that none of y'all would ever wear a shirt twice, get your money's worth out of it. I don't do that. I don't know if you know much about the coaching profession. Coaches, I coached for 32 years. We actually spend probably somewhere between 90 and 105 hours a week. It's a real busy profession. And gosh, for 32 years, I've had a schedule. This is what I've done for 365 days out of the year. And when I got out of coaching a few years ago, I went from 95 hours a week to 0. I said, man, what am I going to do? Never had free time. What am I going to do? So the first thing I had to do was develop a schedule. And what am I going to do during the day? Now, when I got through with Clemson, I was empty nest. My children have a son and a daughter. They were grown and gone. And I'm an early riser, being in the coaching profession. So I'd get up every morning about 6:15. There's an Exxon station about a mile from my house, sold gas and newspapers, just snacks and coffee and stuff like that. So I'd get up in the morning, go down about 6:15 when I got through coaching. I'd get my wife a cup of coffee, get me a cup of coffee. I buy newspapers. I enjoy reading, but as a head coach, you never buy newspapers because they usually say something bad about you, so you don't have to buy them. But I'd go get them anyway, and I could read them. So I'd go home, get my wife coffee in bed every morning, about 6:45. Here's your coffee. Then I'd go in the other room, and I'd read my sport pages. I'd do my Bible reading. I'd have breakfast. I'd do phone calls. I'd do emails. I'm a jogger. I enjoy jogging. I'd go jog, come home, shower, light lunch. And then, gosh, it'd be 2 o'clock. Yeah, exactly, nap time. It's close. It's about 2 o'clock. I had never been home at 2 o'clock in my life. I said, man, now what do you do? Well, I start watching TV. I don't know what the cable system is here in this part of the country, but right back then at that time, here's what happened at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, Judge Judy, Judge Mathis, Judge Joe Brown, Judge Alex, Judge Maybelline, Judge Karen, Texas Justice, Divorce Court, People's Court. At 2 people, 6 o'clock and dinner. Then I had dinner, I watched TV, and I go to bed. So I had my schedule. So after about 2 or 3 weeks of this, I get up and go down to the Exxon station. I get my wife a cup of coffee, me a cup of coffee. I get my newspapers. I go home, get my wife coffee in bed at 6:45. Then I go in there, I do my Bible reading, I do my newspapers, and I have my breakfast, emails, phone calls. I go jog, come home, shower, light lunch. 2 o'clock, I'm in the den. I'm looking for the channel change, and I can't find the channel change. I see my wife, Linda, over in the corner. She's got the channel change. I said, Linda, 2 o'clock. It says, time for Judge Judy. I said, give me that channel change. She says, well, I'm watching my shows. I said, what kind of shows you watch? She says, I watch cooking shows. I said, well, why do you watch cooking shows? I said, you don't know how to cook. She says, you watch football, don't you? She got me. But I know this is kind of Pac-12 country out in this part of the country. I spent my last 10 years as a head coach in the ACC. I spent 11 years in the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, as an assistant. And I don't know if you know much about the ACC, but the team I had to beat in my conference was Florida State. I was the head coach at Clemson. My father was the head coach at Florida State. I had to beat him to win the conference, to win the division. And we played 9 times. He won 5, I won 4. Now he won the first four games. He won the national championship in 1999. That's my first year at Clemson. They killed us. Next 3 years, we played national TV, and he beat us like a drum. I said, man, alive. Well, my athletic director, my boss, called me in and said, listen, we hired you to beat Florida State. You can't beat your father. We'll find somebody that can. I said, well, that kind of got my attention after that. So the next 5 times we played, I won 4. Oh, and they got after him. His athletic director called him in and said, listen, so we hired you to beat Clemson. You can't beat your son. You can't beat Clemson. We'll find somebody that can. So they solved that problem, they fired us both. So now both of us are speaking, neither one of us goes. But we flat say the 9 times we played, and I guess the reason they made such a big deal out of it, in Division I-A football, which is the highest level of competition in college football, a father and a son had never played each other. So the first time we played, they called it the Bowden Bowl. ESPN, they televised it nationally about every year. And they just, media, all kind of media, because it had never been done before. And I tell you, when we played now, those games, they were cold-blooded, knocked down, drag out, drag off, fighting, kicking, biting, cussing, clipping, late hitting. I mean, his team was the most, terribly disciplined team. I couldn't believe he couldn't handle his team. Mine was angels. His was terrible, fighting. But we used to have some very competitive games, and then the recruiting part really was even more competitive than that. Recruiting is you go out and sign the players. I don't know if you know much about college recruiting. The team of the best players usually wins. Right now, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama win a bunch of games. They have great recruiting years. They go get the best players. So if you go get the best players, there's a good chance you're going to win some games. And when I was recruiting at Clemson, if you know much about the state of South Carolina, it's pie-shaped, with a pie shape, by the mountains of North Carolina, and it goes out to the coast. Clemson's over in the mountains of South Carolina, on that little thin piece of the pie. And with all my connections in the Southeastern Conference, I used to go down south and recruit. I'd recruit more Georgia, Alabama, Florida, where my contacts were, than some of the northern schools that recruited against the ACC in North Carolina and going to Virginia. I wouldn't go that way. And consequently, I'd wind up recruiting a lot against my father. I recruited a lot against the state of Florida. In recruiting, at this particular time, there's a great tailback named C.J. Spiller. Some of you might have heard of him. He's a great running back, a first-round draft pick at that time. The Buffalo Bills, played some of the Saints. I think he's still playing, but I think he's a 10th pick overall, a great tailback. He was located 40 miles north of Gainesville, Florida. He was the best player in the state of Florida, 40 miles north of Gainesville. At this particular time, at the University of Florida, a guy named Urban Meyer was the head coach. He's now at Ohio State. There was a guy named Pete Carroll was the head coach at Southern Cal. And he visited Southern Cal. My father was at Florida State, and then I was at Clemson. Now, a prospect like that can actually visit 5 schools. The university can pay for his way to visit campus, and he can pick out 5 schools. But he had it down to 4. You want to go to Southern Cal, or Florida State, or Clemson. Again, the recruiting rules in college football, the head coach can go in there one time. I can go and see C.J. Spiller one time. The assistant coaches can go once a week. Signing date in college football is the first Wednesday in February. Whatever that day it falls on, college football signings the first Wednesday in February. And there's some strategy when you go in. Because when you go in as a head coach, it's such a big deal. When you go into the prospect's home, there's the mother, the father, the aunt, the grandfather, the mentor, the high school coach, the girlfriend, the pastor. There's kids running around. It's a big event when you go in, because the head coach can only go in once. And then there's strategy. It's kind of like chess. When do I go in as a head coach? If I go in the week before signing date, and Urban Meyer or Bobby Bowden goes in before me, they do a great job of selling him, get him to commit. Well, gosh, I never get my visit. And so he makes up his mind. If I go first into CJ's house, and then Pete Carroll or Urban Meyer or Bobby Bowden comes after me, they might change his mind. So, gosh, when do you go? So there's strategy when you go recruit these great players. And I had made up my mind to go the week before 2 weeks before signing day. I think Pete Carroll went to go see him first, then Urban Meyer went to go see him, then I went to go see him, and my father was going to go see him. Like I said, when the head coach comes in, there's a big production. A lot of times it's on the weekend, the mother will cook a big meal, and you go in there, there's just organized chaos in the house until you go in there. And visits last about 3 hours. So I remember going in on Sunday, going into CJ's house, and first thing you do when you walk in, there's just all kind of people there. Well, the first thing you do as a head coach, and we all do it, don't want to give away secrets, is you find the mama. Mama's going to probably make the decision. That's the closest to you. So you go find the mama, and you love up on that mama as much as you can. Hug her, tell her what's a great job she's done raising her son. You've enjoyed meeting him, and you work her over for about 30, 40 minutes. Next, You go find them little kids that are running around. You know they're running around, and you get them little kids, and you bounce them on the knee, and you hug them, and you kind of sing to them. And what you want the mother to look over there and look at you, those kids, and say, look how good that coach is with the kids. He's going to treat my son just like that. Boy, is he good with the kids. So I hate to say it's all.